Okay, folks, buckle up, because today we're taking a deep dive into a children's classic that's a little bit, well, let's just say it's not your average bedtime story.
Definitely not your average fairy tale.
I'm Hari, and I'm joined by Kimi, our literary mechanic for this deep dive into Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, a book that's surprisingly deeply connected to the world of espionage, which I know our listeners are particularly interested in.
It's a fascinating connection, isn't it? You wouldn't necessarily think that the creator of James Bond, that suave, sophisticated master of spycraft, would also have a penchant for writing about magical flying cars.
Just quite the juxtaposition. But then again, maybe that's what makes Ian Fleming so intriguing, this ability to seamlessly transition from, you know, shaken not stirred martinis to whimsical adventures for younger audiences.
Absolutely. I think it speaks to his versatility as a writer and his ability to tap into different aspects of the human experience. What strikes me is that despite their obvious differences, both Bond and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang share this underlying theme of embracing the impossible, this willingness to push the boundaries of reality.
It's that sense of wonder and possibility that captivates us, no matter our age. And I think that's what our listener is really keen to explore. What sparked Fleming's imagination? What led him to create this whimsical world of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang?
Well, it turns out the story behind the story is just as fascinating as the book itself. Our research indicates that Fleming actually penned this tale while he was recovering from a heart attack. Imagine that.
Wow, the mastermind behind James Bond, sidelined by a health scare and turning to children's literature.
It's quite the unexpected detour, isn't it?
It makes you wonder if this creative shift was a form of escapism for Fleming, a way to tap into a lighter, more playful side of his imagination during a difficult time.
It's certainly possible. Some biographers have suggested that it was also a way for him to connect with his son, Casper, on a deeper level.
Through the power of storytelling.
Exactly. And it's in those stories that we often find those universal truths, those shared human experiences that connect us across generations.
Speaking of connections, one of the things that struck me was how Fleming drew inspiration from real-life cars. His own Standard Tourer, a car he owned in the 1920s, played a significant role in shaping Chitty's character.
And it was a stylish car for its time.
Oh, absolutely. Imagine cruising along the English countryside in this open-top beauty.
But there's another car that's even more intriguing. The aero-engined race car owned by Count Louis Borowski.
Ah, yes. And this beast of a car was also named Chitty Bang Bang, right?
It was. Talk about a name with a story to tell.
It's as if the car itself was destined for literary greatness. Did Fleming ever reveal why he chose that particular name, or is it one of those literary mysteries that we're left to ponder?
Well, there are a few theories out there. Some say it's onomatopoeic, meant to evoke the sound of the engine, while others believe it has a more, shall we say, colorful origin.
Oh, do tell.
It might be linked to a World War I song about the pleasures of Paris.
That certainly adds an unexpected layer to the story, doesn't it? Makes you wonder how different generations might have interpreted that name, what it evoked in their minds.
It's a reminder that meaning is often fluid, shaped by context and individual experience. In this case, the name Chitty Chitty Bang Bang seems to have taken on a life of its own. From its potentially risque origins, it's evolved to become synonymous with childlike wonder and adventure.
Speaking of adventure, I love how Fleming paints this vivid picture of Chitty as more than just a car. She's a character in her own right, with a personality, quirks, and even a touch of magic.
And remember, this story was initially handwritten by Fleming because, as you mentioned earlier, he was recovering from a heart attack.
And couldn't use a typewriter.
Exactly. Picture him pen in hand, painstakingly crafting this fantastical tale for his son.
It adds such a layer of intimacy and tenderness to the whole creation process.
And it's especially poignant knowing that Fleming passed away before the book was published. It's as if he left behind this legacy of imagination, this gift for his son and for countless children around the world.
It's a beautiful thought, and it speaks to the enduring power of stories, how they can transcend time and connect us across generations.
Absolutely. It's amazing how, when you really start looking closely at Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, you realize it's not just a lighthearted children's story. There are all these deeper philosophical threads woven throughout the narrative.
You're right, it's actually quite thought-provoking. For me, the most prominent theme is this idea of freedom, breaking free from limitations, both physical and societal.
Of course, and that's beautifully symbolized by Chitty's ability to fly, right? She defies gravity, transforms, basically refuses to be constrained by the ordinary.
Exactly. And it connects so well with existentialist philosophy, which, as you know, really emphasizes individual agency and the power to create meaning in a world that can often feel absurd.
Absolutely. You could say Chitty represents this existential leap of faith, the belief that we can transcend our circumstances and choose our own path.
And that's especially powerful for children who are, well, they're constantly surrounded by rules and expectations, right? They're told what to do, how to behave.
And Chitty Chitty Bang Bang whispers to them, you can break free.
Exactly. And let's not forget Caractacus Pot, the eccentric inventor. He's the embodiment of creativity and innovation.
He reminds us that we're not just passive bystanders in our own lives, right? We have the ability to shape our destinies, even if it means being a little unconventional.
He's like a modern-day Prometheus,
Yeah.
defying the gods, or in this case, maybe the limitations of conventional thinking, to create something truly extraordinary.
Such a great comparison, and it raises another interesting question, the relationship between technology and human potential.
Yes. Is technology just a tool? Or can it, as Chitty seems to suggest, empower us to actually transcend our limitations?
It's a question we're grappling with even more today with all these rapid technological advancements. It makes you think about how it affects our lives, our very humanity.
Right. And I think Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, even though it's a children's story, offers a really nuanced perspective on this. It acknowledges that technology has a dual nature.
It can be liberating but also destructive, a force for good or evil depending on who's wielding it.
It's like that classic duality of human nature, you know. We see it in the contrast between the Potts family, all about kindness and adventure, and the villains who are driven by greed and selfishness.
Exactly. It ties into that timeless philosophical theme of good versus evil, that internal struggle we see in so much literature and mythology. Light and darkness, order and chaos, these forces seem woven into the very fabric of existence.
And in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, that conflict isn't presented in a simplistic way, thankfully. It's not just black and white.
It's more about exploring the complexities of human nature.
The shades of gray that exist within us all.
And yet, through it all, there's this unwavering sense of hope, resilience, this belief in the power of love and family to overcome anything.
And the Potts family, even with all their quirks, they embody that perfectly, don't they? Their united front.
They face challenges head on, and their love for each other is what allows them to prevail.
Absolutely. It reminds us that we're stronger together, that even when things seem impossible, love and loyalty can make all the difference.
It brings us to another big philosophical question. What is true happiness? Is it about possessions, achievements?
Or is it, as Chitty Chitty Bang Bang suggests, about experiences, relationships, finding joy in the simple things?
Philosophers have been wrestling with that question for centuries.
And I think Chitty Chitty Bang Bang gives us a pretty compelling answer. It's not about accumulating wealth or power. It's about living a life filled with adventure, cherishing the people you love, and finding those moments of wonder in the everyday.
And that's what makes this book such an enduring classic. It speaks to those deep human longings we all have, the desire for connection, meaning a life filled with possibility.
So as we shift gears to discuss the book's critical reception and its various adaptations,
Yes, let's delve into that.
I think it's important to keep in mind all of these philosophical layers that Fleming has so cleverly woven into the story. They add a richness and depth that might not be immediately obvious, but they really resonate with readers on both an intellectual and emotional level.
Absolutely. It's a testament to his skill as a storyteller that he created something that's both incredibly entertaining and deeply thought-provoking. A book that can be enjoyed on multiple levels, sparking our imaginations while also encouraging us to reflect on the bigger questions in life. All right, so we've talked about the philosophical underpinnings of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, but how did people react when the book first came out?
It seems like it was a pretty big hit right from the start. The critics were really charmed by Fleming's ability to create this whimsical world, a world that appealed to both kids and adults.
Yeah, they loved those cliffhangers.
Yeah.
Leaving readers on the edge of their seats, dying to know what would happen next.
It really is remarkable, isn't it, that the same author who gave us the cool, sophisticated world of James Bond could also write something so full of childlike wonder.
It makes you wonder if there's a little bit of that Bond-esque adventurous spirit woven into Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Maybe secretly, Chitty's got some gadgets hidden under the hood. But seriously, I think it speaks to Fleming's versatility as a writer. And to think he created this while recovering from a heart attack.
It's almost as if this foray into children's literature was a way for him to heal, to reconnect with that sense of joy and possibility.
That's a lovely thought. The critics also pointed out the book's humor, the warmth of the family dynamics, and how it celebrated the power of imagination.
Absolutely. Themes that still resonate today. And we can't forget the impact of John Burningham's illustrations.
Those illustrations are iconic. They brought Chitty and her world to life in such a vivid way, a perfect complement to Fleming's words.
Speaking of bringing Chitty to life, we have to talk about the 1968 film adaptation.
Oh, that movie is pure magic. Those catchy songs, the special effects, and the cast. It truly captured the spirit of the book.
And it's fascinating that it was produced by Albert R. Broccoli, the man behind the James Bond films. It's like these two worlds, espionage and children's fantasy, colliding again.
What a connection. And then there's the stage musical with those elaborate sets and dazzling performances.
It's proof that Chitty Chitty Bang Bang's appeal is timeless and transcends different mediums.
It's the power of a good story, told and retold in ways that continue to capture our imaginations.
And we can't overlook those 3 sequels written by Frank Cottrell Boyce. They introduced a whole new generation to the magic of Chitty.
It's so heartwarming to know that Chitty's legacy lives on, inspiring new adventures for readers and audiences alike.
Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, I have to say, I have a newfound appreciation for Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. It's so much more than just a children's story.
It really is. There's such depth and philosophical insight tucked away within those pages, not to mention that timeless message about imagination, family, and embracing life's adventures. It reminds us that no matter how old we get, we should never stop seeking out those extraordinary moments, those moments that remind us that anything is possible.
Absolutely. So, dear listener, remember Caractacus Potts' wise words. Never say no to adventure. Buckle up, embrace the unknown, and keep that spirit of wonder alive.